Hi BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and today I decided to film a couple of videos on series. So originally I was not going to talk about my series reading, what I was going to read this year for series, but I do need to. There's a lot of series I want to catch up on. One of my goals is to make sure I read more than one series, because there really was only one. Well, I want to finish more than one series, because in 2022, I only finished the one trilogy, The First Law. So there's a lot of series and 4-book series and trilogies that I could have finished last year, but I did not. And I want to finish them this year. And so first I'm going to talk about all the series that, the ones that are rereads, and which originally my plan was I was going to film 3 separate videos, but I'm just gonna film it all in one video because, again, I can't get interrupted. So I'm gonna just film it all in one video, and just make it, a quick, don't spend too much time talking about the books. Just share with you a little, maybe a little bit of information. And like I said, I'm going to start with the ones that are rereads, and then I'll talk about the series that are ones that I want to continue, read the next book. Ideally read 2 books in the series. And then I'm going to talk about the ones where either I need to start the first book or I have not started the first book. Or I need to start the first book, or a series where I've started reading the first book, but I haven't finished the first book. Okay, so first let's cover the rereads. Okay, first we have Song of Ice and Fire. I was about to say Game of Thrones. Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin. So as soon as a couple years ago, the series, a year or two ago, the TV show had ended, and they started House of the Dragon. So I was thinking this would be a perfect opportunity to get back to reading the books, because I'm someone that I can't read a book and watch a show adaptation at the same time. It's just I'm thinking, well, I could be watching the show, or it's just, well, I can't do it at the same time, because it's basically, it's like it's hard to it's just hard for me to do it at the same read the book and then watch the show at the same time. It's just too much, and I can't get into either one of them. Or it's easier for me to focus more on the show than the book, which will take me more time to get to because I'm not a fast reader. So I last May, I reread Game of Thrones, and I have read the first 2 books, and then I started reading book 3, and I got halfway through, but then I ended up putting it down because at the time I was still getting used to longer books, and I still could not finish long books, super long books. The only reason I actually, after years and years of reading A Count of Monte Cristo, and putting it down and picking it back up again, I finally was able to finish it when I listened to the audiobook instead of actually physically reading the book. And I think that really helped. I think if you are when it comes to a longer book, longer work, I think it can help if you're like me, listening to an audiobook. But it was one of these situations where when I finally decided, okay, this is a perfect time to finally reread the series, I was just thinking that maybe I should just start over. So I reread A Game of Thrones last year, and I kept picking up A Clash of Kings, and I did get a good chunk read. But I just put it down one day and got distracted by other books, and I just never picked it up again. I kept meaning to, but I never did. So I wanted to pick it up again and start reading it again. But yeah, so that was Clash of Kings. And then we have A Son of a Witch. It is the sequel to Wicked. And I know that Wicked is a series, the Wicked years are a series that not everybody likes because there's some mature content. And it's just not, like, it's a very dark story. And I remember I personally liked it back then. And I liked it rereading it earlier this year, back in October. So I wanted to, I meant to read Son of a Witch. Son of a Witch this past year, but I never got around to it. So I intend to read Son of a Witch this year. I don't know when, but I do plan on my reread of it. Because this is again another situation where I read 3 of the books in the series, but there's only 4 books in the series, so I just had one more book. But I had spaced out the series so much that by the time I finished A Lion Among Men and was thinking about getting into Out of Oz, the final book, it just wasn't, the timing just wasn't great. I barely remember the other books, even having, knowing the musical and having the soundtrack and everything. So it was just easier for me to reread it. So like I said, last October I read Wicked. And this year I plan to read Son of a Witch. And I don't know if I'll wait for October or read sooner. But I feel like that's kind of messes me up if I plan a specific month when I read a book. Because then if I plan too far in advance, then I might not remember to get to it. Like, get inspired to read something else and not get to that book. So I feel like I shouldn't plan to read this October. I should plan to either not plan to read it or like plan to read it but don't say which month. Just wait. Or maybe plan to read it like sooner rather than later. Okay, then we have Dark Tower series by Stephen King. Another series where I started reading the previous books in the series, but I did not finish it. And I put it down for a while, and then when I finally decided to come back to it, it had been so long, and I decided just to reread it. So in 2021, in November, I read the first 2 books, The Gunslinger and The Drawline 3, and Stephen King's writing style is very readable, and you can get through it really fast. I mean, it still took me a while to read, like, Needful Things, but I was able to get through, both The Gunslinger and Drawing 3 very quickly. And because he has a very readable writing style. And again, he's another one of those authors who writes really short chapters. Like, he will write a chapter and then he will write little chapters within that bigger chapter. So, and I don't know if you would call that a chapter or not, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to call it that. And so it makes it very easy to get through his books, unless there's aspects of his books that you're just not liking, not comfortable reading. That might slow you down a little bit to the point where you might just need to put the book down. But so I had read, like I said, so I read the first 2 books, and I remember The Wastelands, the 3rd book, was my favorite, particularly because of Blaine the Train, who's basically Gollum as Thomas the Tank Engine. And I remember I started reading book 4. That was when but then that's the one I put down for a long period of time. And actually, the train is the only aspect I remember of book 3, actually. But anyway, so I am going to reread this one also soon as well. I need to read it sooner. And the last one I'm going to talk about is The Witching Hour, the first book in the Mayfair Witches. So this is a series that I read a good chunk of this book, but then it was super long, and I was still not used to super long books. And I also ended up cheating and reading the last couple sentences of the last page, and I wasn't sure if I liked the direction it went. But now as I've gotten older, I remember really enjoying her writing style and how much history she puts in these books. And I decided to, I had wanted to pick it up again. And also I was kind of motivated, inspired because, sadly she passed. And in honor, and Jennifer Brooks, who's a big fan, had said that in honor of her, she was going to read some of her books. And I figured, what a great idea to honor her memory by reading her work. And so I started reading The Witching Hour in October, which she died sooner. Unfortunately, she died a lot earlier than that. But I think I did start it when she passed. I think, unless I was reading something else at the time. But I came back to it again in October, and I've been meaning to come back to it, but I have not yet. So this is another one. Unfortunately, this is one that's going to take me more time to read. And let's see. So this is let me see. I'm trying to see how many pages is this one. Yeah, this is in the 960s. Yeah, 965 pages. So it's not too. It's still in the 9. It's like probably the cutoff, because I have read 800 place books, but it still took me a long time to read. So those are my rereads. Okay, so now let's talk about the series that I need to continue with, that I have not, so these first two are books where because I was looking at my shelf, because I reorganized my shelf, so I spent almost the whole day doing that, except for I did break for lunch. See, that's what happens whenever I reorganize my shelf. I take most of the day doing it. Because then I also play a video in the background, and I get distracted by whatever the video is, and so it ends up taking me most of the day to reorganize and put my books back on the shelf. So I was going through them, and I realized I was, when I put them all back, with all the handful of new books I got, I had to, go through them and be like, okay, what are books that I could remove and put in the donation pile. I was kind of also inspired by Lauren the Books. I was watching her video on she does it every year, where she goes through her books and see if there's any books that she can donate, that she doesn't have any interest anymore, and she doesn't need to keep them anymore. So I was inspired by that, and I decided to reorganize and go back to the rainbow shelf again, which I like that personally. I know not everybody likes it, and some people think it's silly, but I like it. And I don't think it's a crime to be all like enjoy pretty shelves. It doesn't mean you don't read your books. It just means you like the aesthetic of a pretty shelf. That does not mean that doesn't make you any less of a reader. Like, it bugs me that some of the... Sorry, I was checking my shirt because it looks like I have it on backwards. But it just bugs me that I've heard in the past that people, assume that if you have a pretty shelf, a nice aesthetic shelf, that's all you care about is aesthetics. And it's like, no. How does that prove that that's all you care about, just because you like a pretty shelf? Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to get back on topic, because this video could potentially be super long. So, I was scanning my shelf and removed some books, and I had to pick out some books that I was thinking, maybe I don't need to keep these, I want to finish the series, because they were both series, but do I necessarily want to keep them? Do I love them that much that I absolutely have to? And they are favorites, but that doesn't necessarily, for me, I don't have to necessarily keep every single favorite book. Like, there's a level of favoritism for my books. For me, I don't know if that makes any sense. Oh, sorry, I got a text message. I forgot I took my phone off silent, so now I can hear it ding or something. But, first we have the Seven Waters series. It used to be a trilogy, but then she wrote a few other books in that series. And she's written several other books, and I thought about if I want to read some of her other works, but I don't know yet. So this is the final book in the first trilogy before she had decided to expand it and write a few more books. Child of Prophecy. This is about probably, I think, let's see, the daughter of, I think, the sister of Ladlin, not her daughter, but her sister's daughter, I think. And, yeah, the daughter of Niam. Which each book is about a female member of the the Seven Waters clan, and I think she has a connection to a cousin or something, like, or I don't know, but I don't, like I said, I don't want this video to be super long, so I'm not going to go into detail what it's about if I don't remember without reading the back. So so I want to read that, and then I don't know, I might, like, there's only one more book left in the series, so I took it off the shelf, and I decided to keep them in a corner of my room for now, and then get the next book, get the final book I need, and read that, and then I can send it to Givens, or give them to Givens, or maybe give them to this Black Castle Books, or sell them back to Amazon. I don't know. We also thought about that as well. But yeah, so this Child of Prophecy. And then there's Heir to the Seven Waters, Flame of the Seven Waters, and Seer of the Seven Waters. Those are the other 3 books. And then the other one is Victory of Eagles. So there's 4 more books in the series to get that I need to read. Victory of Eagles is book number 5. Then we have there's 9 books altogether in this series. So there's books number 5, number 6, and 7, 8, 9. And I have book 9, and I have book 7, and books 5, 6, and 7. But I don't have book 8. So I will be getting that book soon, but this is Victory Eagles, and of course each book picks up right after the first one left off. And it's a very easy read. It's not, that's why I like it, but they're very easy reads, very fun, you can get through them quickly. They're historical, but they're not too dense, like they're not like Juliet Marillier's work where they're very dense and a flowery writing or anything. And I really like how Naomi Novak's, each of her works is very different. Like, they're not all the same. Like, and that's why, of course, there was at least one book series from her that I did not love, and that was A Deadly Education. And I don't plan on reading the other 2 books in that trilogy. And I liked Spinning Silver, but it wasn't my favorite. So I think it's kind of cool that she's able to do that, like change her writing style a little bit and write completely different stories. Okay, so there's that, and then we have the Poppy War trilogy and the Burning God, and this was one of the ones I could have finished this year. Like, I had read The Dragon Republic last summer, I spent most of the month reading that book. I didn't get a lot of reading done that month, and that was in June, I think, because Harry had visited. Since we couldn't go to a convention, I just invited her to stay at our house for a week, and we did the pool and everything, went to the bookstore. I showed her around. We walked around the village in Pinehurst and all that. And went to a movie and all that. So I didn't get a lot of reading done. And I knew that was going to happen. So I wasn't surprised that I didn't get a lot of reading done in June. And I wanted to at least focus on Dragon Republic. So I read that. And so I could have read this sometime in 2022, but I did not get around to it. So I want to read it this year. And this was the other book I was thinking about reading in May. Along with the two books that I got about the Philippines. One was about the Philippines, and then the other one is a historical fiction work set in the Philippines. I thought, I pick not only my birthday month, but it's also Asian American Heritage Month. So I figure, why not read about my own Asian heritage in May, rather than the And like I said, include this as well. Now, I don't know if Terry's gonna come again, or if we're gonna be able to go to a convention in the this summer. It will depend on COVID and how, because if COVID gets worse again, then I don't know if I'll want to go to a convention. But we will see. And if we go to a convention, it will give me more time to get reading done, because at least, that's only a week and a weekend, so it's not as... So I'll be able to get more reading done without feeling like I've, But, yeah, so... If that one... And this is one of the books, there's only 3 books. I just have one more book to read. And, next, I had just literally got this book last night. It came in the mail. I ordered it off Thrift Books, and that is Shadow of Night, the second book in the All Souls trilogy. I read the first book back in October, and then I got and I looked for the books on Thrift Books and on Amazon, and so I had 2 options of where I could get the books, and I got an email from Thrift Books that they went down a little bit down in price, and I almost got both books, both 2 and 3, but then there was another book I wanted just a little bit more than book 3. And also, as I said on the Christmas haul, I want to read the books before I get to the show, so I was like, let me get the second book at some point soon, and before I watch season 2, because Cherry got me season 2. And, so I knew that I needed to get to book 2, because why would I get book 3 before I get book 2? So I bought book 2 along with a different book, and which made it a little bit more pricey. I spent just a little bit more money on Thrift Books than it's probably the most expensive order I've gotten amongst when getting only 2 books, because the last couple times I've only gotten 2 books. But this is the sequel, where it takes place in the Elizabethan era, where our characters are traveling back in time. Our couple is. So I'm really excited to read this. And it was great. And what I really like about adaptations is having a voice and a face for the character. Because I'm not one of those people who uses my own idea of what the characters look like. Because if it does get adapted, someone's going to have a completely different vision. The person who's adapting is going to have a completely different vision than if I made up my own idea what the characters look like. So, and I knew they had already been adapted, and so I knew who was in the TV show anyway. So when I was reading Discovery Witches last October, I had pictured those actors. I just could not hear their voice, because I had, and it had been a long time since I heard either one of them in a movie. So, but they were who I pictured anyway. So, but yep, I cannot wait to read this, and I might read this a lot sooner rather than later. But, although going by the chapter, because I looked at the table of contents, and going by the first section, it sounds like they kind of overshoot things, you know, with in the first part. So, or go to a different time period than they originally intended. But, well, although they have 3 objects, so I don't know. Just the title makes me think something goes wrong. But anyway, so we have that. And like I said, that's also a trilogy, so once I read that book, I only have 1 more book left. Which, like I said, it's kind of pathetic that I only got 1 trilogy finished last year in 2022. And I was so close with, like, the Camelot years and the School for Good and Evil the second trilogy. You know, I was just had to read 1 more book. But the problem is, when I went to return them, and then, you know, and I planned on renewing a couple of them, that it was right after Thanksgiving, so they were still closed because, I mean, the people that work there were probably, you know, still out of town and hanging out with their family, so they didn't reopen right after Thanksgiving. It was a couple weeks before or a week or 2 before they opened up again. So, and we were going out of town, so it was like, and they were due back, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna just return them, and then next year, as in 2023, I would get the book. I would go back again at some point and get book 3 in the Camelot years, and, you know, anything else. Because I had also, but anyway, so, which, actually, I just realized I have something else to count in the reread section. I am listening to ACOTAR. I am rereading it. That series by Sarah J. Maas. I'm listening to it on Libby. Because that, which I know people take issue with Sarah J. Maas, and there are some people consider some problematic elements, and not everybody's some people are not comfortable with either of the love interest in that series, but I had fun with that. And I had fun with it again the second time around. And I can't wait for book 2. So, I have to wait a few weeks. Quite a while before I can get to book 2. The good news is, you know, at least I know what to expect in book 2. So it's not as anxious. I'm not as anxious to get book 2, waiting on book 2, because I already know the story and I know what happens. So it's a different kind of anxiousness. It's more of a, oh, I wish I had it now, but I can easily be distracted. Like, I still wish I had it right now so I can listen to it, but it's not like I'm not as, like, speculating or just, you know, biting my nails to get it, you know? But yeah, that's a reread. So yeah, I forgot that book to mention that as well. And actually, there's technically, if some of since I included the witching hour on here in the reread, there's another series that I'm including in the I need to read the first book section, where I could include it as a reread if I'm including the witching hour, because the witching hour I never finished. I never finished the first book. And it's the same thing with this other series, but I'm going to keep it where it is. So now we have Dune, which I don't know how many books are in Dune. Let me look. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 6 books, and then there's all the books that are, about Dune, which actually is the same thing with that other series I literally just mentioned that I could have included in the first category, but I'm not going to. Also, that series, along with this series, has a lot of other books that are just about the world itself, which I love. I love when authors do that. I think that's so cool. I would love to do that. Be able to create a world. I mean, it shouldn't be about that when you're writing. If you want to be an author, it shouldn't be about that it should be just, you just write a book because you want to write a book, and I do. It's a lot. Like, I am very impressed by authors like Frank Herbert. They come up with such history and write so much, and just write a bunch of other books about it. Like, it's like, I feel like when they write the first book, they're thinking, oh, I can't include everything I want, so let me just, write this first book and write a few more books, make it a series, and then write other books that kind of explain the world. All that other stuff in my head that I can't put in the other books, because, it'll be too much and boring, and it might, not everybody will like it. Some people will potentially be bored. So I read Dune, and I read Dune Messiah last year, so I was thinking about picking up this one, but I never did. So I want to read it this year. And my rule that I'm trying to stick to is not to buy the next book that comes after the book I still have not picked up yet. Because I used to do that all the time, where I would buy all the books in the series, or buy as many as I could afford from the series. But then some of those series I might DNF or not pick up for several years. And yes, I said years. And that would give me problems, because then I would feel like I have to reread the first books to remember things. I mean, I have a pretty good memory, but if it's been more than a couple years, then I might not remember as easily. So, but I think this is about Paul Atreides' children. I think they're the main characters in this book. But going by children of Dune. But I want to, so before I think it's Heretics of Dune is the next one. Let me see. Or The God Emperor of Dune. Yeah, The God Emperor of Dune. Heretics of Dune is after that one. The God Emperor of Dune is the one after this one. So before I buy The God Emperor of Dune, I want to get this one read. I keep debating about picking it up, about buying it, and who knows, I might break my rule and buy it. But I have a different series that's my priority, buying all the books. And now, although technically that book is not meant to be a series, but I will get to that in a little bit. Explain what I mean by that. But yep, there is that one. And then this is one that I've just read this book, and I'm eager to get to the next one, but I have not bought it yet. I've not been to Books A Million lately, so I don't have it to show you, but I do have the one that I just finished to show you, and that is The Wolf by Leo Carew. And I really enjoyed this. It was a great debut because it was the author's debut, and he recently, there's 2 other books to read, but I don't have either of them yet, so I can't show them to you. But the second book is called The Spider, and the third and final book is The Cuckoo, which I think I like those titles. But this is kind of a Viking type story, and but I really enjoyed it, and I'm eager to get to the next one. This was really fun and very dark story. It was, it was very different from what I'm used to. Like, I didn't think I liked war stories, but I think because it's not something I would ever be involved in real life. So it's like, it's kind of an escapism to read this kind of story. Fantasy war stories, not the real life stuff. But, like historical and then fantasy type war stories. So this is a trilogy, like I said. As far as I know, I just don't have the other 2 books, so until I get them, I can't. Okay, and then we have another series, The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. This was really fun. I liked a lot of the concepts, like how they use dragon bones to make their ships, and I really enjoyed our main character. I liked how he grew as a character. And I think this one is a 4-book series. It's either a trilogy or 4-book series. So, again, I don't have all the books yet, so I only have this first one to show you. I really enjoyed it. And I don't want this to be like another series where I read the first book. It was a debut, was the, I cannot remember what that book was called. I can't see, I can't tell what the title is. It was a debut last year, and the only problem with that is I don't know how long it will be before the next book comes out. And then that can be a problem for me because sometimes if it takes a long time, then I lose interest. I think that's how a lot of the Game of Thrones people feel, or the Kingkiller Chronicles fans feel. They're tired of waiting and they lose interest or get annoyed with the author. So I'm glad that this is an older series, so all the books are out, so I can buy them at some point soon. But yeah, there's that one. And like I said, I think it's a 4-book series, so. Okay, and then we have, so this one was actually published an ebook that was published, and it sold really well, so so Orbit decided to take a chance on it and publish it, and it got published in 3 volumes, so there are 2 novellas in each volume, and there's actually a spin-off series that I think is a prequel series, but I don't think I'm going to read it. I had some of the books, and Jashana from, I don't remember what her channel name is. I know she really liked it, and Reagan from Peruse Projects is really enjoying it too, but I don't know if I'm going to continue with it, and read the prequel series. But I am on, the second novella in this one, and it's the Emerald. Oh, good, I got it right. So the Emerald Storm, and then I have to read one more volume. Once I read this one, then I have one more volume, so 2 more novellas to read, and then I'm good. So I will read the Emerald Storm sometime this year. And then this is one that I have not started reading it. But it's the second book in a series, a 4-book series. And I had another series by this author once before the first book. But then at the time I was thinking, I'm not interested in this topic anymore. In this kind of history. And that was the War of the Roses series by Con Gludden, I don't know how to say. But this is a historical fiction, one of the few historical fiction series that I have here. I do have a couple on here. But this is the Emperor series, and it is about Julius Caesar, a fictionalized version of the events of Julius Caesar's life. In the first book, we see him and Brutus as kids and how they ended up in the city of Rome. And this is kind of, I think, about when they're teenagers. But I enjoyed the first book, and so yes, when this book got published, was the only. Sorry, I was just looking at the list of books in the series. They only have this one and then the first one as books that the author published, and I know that so when this one came out, they must only had those 2. The author did. But what I like, this is large print too. But I was thinking about reading this in March, because the Ides of March, because March is when he got assassinated. But I don't know yet. Like I said, it's not good for me to plan ahead that too far in advance. But yeah, I enjoyed the first book, so I'm looking forward to book 2. Okay. So actually, let me go ahead. Here is one of my other historical series. Oh wait, is that? Oh nope, not yet. I think, is that all of them? No, we also have. No, wait, we gotta do these. Okay, so I have 3 more in this category, I believe, and then the rest of them are books in a first books in a series. So we have The Framley Parsonage. This is book 5, I think, in the Barsetshire series. So technically this is not historical fiction because it's written in the time, it's set in the time period it was written. So it was considered contemporary back then. But this is a series about, like, it's a slow moving series. It's about, like, this little community, this town that's governed by the church and the law of the church. And the first book is The Warden. The second book is Barchester Towers. And then we have Dr. Thorne. That's the third. So actually, this is the fourth book. It's just a very quiet story. Like, it's religious politics and romance and the day-to-day life of this town and the politics within the town itself. So it's not a very big story, you know. His other series, Pulitzer series, Palace, that one I think is more big-time politics, and a bigger story. But I am liking it. It's a very quiet series, you know, and it's fun, you know, which I think I might read this in February. Like I said, I keep saying that, but like I said, I think it's tricky for me to plan reading that in advance, but I mean, it's not that far in advance, so maybe I could get away with that, deciding to read this and sorry, maybe it's the little back flap. Oh, so he... okay, so it doesn't say what the premise of this one is. But anyway, so I gotta get to this one. And then we have... Oh, wait, let me tell you how many books are in this series. So we have, let's see. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 books in this series, and this is book 4. So I don't have that many books. I have to read Spy House at Allington, and then The Last Chronicle of Barset. So really, I only have 2 more books after this one. When I finish this one, I only have 2 more books left. So, but who knows what will happen. I am not good with reading series within the year. Okay, so now we have, this is a 4-book series, actually. The problem is I don't have the last book in this series, but again, another Viking fantasy by John Gwynne. This is his Faithful in the Fallen series, and I think he's written 2 other series now that he started. And I read, like the year before, in 2021, I might have read Valor. So I gotta read Ruin, and then I have 1 more book left, which I need to buy. So that's another priority, either for my birthday or I'll buy it myself at some point. But I'm really liking this series. It's fun. And it's one of those multi POVs, so a lot of interesting characters. Damn it. Sorry. Okay, I think I'm done. Like I said, it's very Viking-inspired story. Sorry, I keep doing, like, not exactly hiccups, or the more silent kind of hiccups, where you're not making that noise that you make when you hiccup, but, you know, you can feel it. Oh, there it goes. I can feel it in the back of my, my throat. So I probably need to drink water or something. But, it's really fun. It's, of course, there's war, and we have a lot of kids. We have a few kid perspectives and people getting killed, and it's brutal, but it's fun, and I'm really liking this. Like I said, I kind of like, because it's, again, sorry, I don't know why I keep doing this. It's so different than what I'm used to. It's like an escape for me to read something like this. It's just really, really fun. And then the last book I want to talk about is one where I just found out, and I think it was Alan from the library, Alexandria, mentioned this series, and the next book, I think he said, is probably coming out in April finally. So this was one I started earlier this year, and at the time I hadn't heard anyone talk about it yet, but after the fact, after I bought it, I heard Elliot Brooks had talked about it on her channel, and then now she was the only person I think I heard talking about it. I think there might have been other people, and then Alan just talked about it on his channel how much he loved it. So I think he said that the next one will be coming out in April, the sequel to it, which I hope it comes out in paperback and we don't have to deal with the whole hardback situation. But Engines of Empire. So I don't know how many books are going to be in this one, if this is going to be series or duology, but it's the Age of Uprising series. So like I said, I don't know how many books are going to be in this. It's going to be series, a trilogy, or a saga, I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. And I agree with him and Elliot that I want to explore more of the city where they live. I do like that they explored themes of colonization and that they had magic fueling machines and stuff. I thought that was really cool. So there was a lot of potential. And yeah, I think it was a great first book. Probably better than The Wolf, for instance. But yeah, I think so. I think the next one is coming out in April. I'll have to go on Goodreads and check. But so yeah, we have that one. Okay, now let's talk about the books, the category of books that I have started. Either I started reading the first book, but I haven't continued with it, or I need to start the first book, and I hope this goes away. These hiccups go away. Okay, so I was about to pick up this book thinking it was part of that previous category, but it's part of this category actually, and that is oh wait. Okay, well I'll talk about it after this one. But Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I think Hilary Mantel recently just passed away. But this is also a trilogy. And actually I saw the second book at the roast office, and it's not, I was surprised at its length. It was not that long. But and her book, of course, every book in the trilogy I think got nominated for the Man Booker, which it actually has on here. Now I don't remember if they won every year, but which I think that's not exactly. Bring Up the Bodies, I think, is the sequel. It's the second one. But I feel like it's not fair if all three books won every year they came out, you know. But anyway, this is about Thomas Cromwell. He was the father. Oh yeah, I forgot I have 2 copies of this bookmark. I just used the other copy in The Wolf, actually. But coffee and books equals happiness. I totally forgot. I had 2 of these. And obviously I did start, but I didn't get very far. And I might start over anyway. But this is about Thomas Cromwell and his rise in King Henry VIII's government. Because both his daughters, Anne and Mary, got involved with the king. In fact, Anne married was one of the wives that lost her head and married the king. She even was the reason he converted the church, or changed, like, left the church. But this is about her father, Thomas Cromwell, I think. But actually has a family tree in it. I think so. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, there was Walter. Oh. Well, yeah, Anne, but I don't see Mary. I thought Mary was also her daughter. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna waste time on that. I'll worry about that later. But, so, yeah, there's that one. I want to read that. And then, actually, the book that made me pause just now. It made me pause because, technically, it should be in the second category I talked about, which is Peace and Turmoil, book 1 of the Dark Shores. Elliot Brooks is first book in her own series. Now, I know something happened in her personal life, so she hasn't written the second book yet. I don't know. I'm assuming she's working on it. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this. It did take me a while to read, but I had fun. I'm really fun with the series. Don't ask me to tell you what it's about because I wouldn't be very good at it. But so I'm looking forward to the second book whenever that may come. But yeah, this was really good, and I think the magic system was really cool. The whole idea of, magical objects and dragons, talking dragons and all that. It's just, there were so many cool ideas in this, and I think it's a pretty good first book. But yeah, I cannot wait until she works and brings up the second one. But like I said, I don't know when that will be, but I hope she's doing all right. And I patiently wait for the second one. So yes, this one could have been in the previous category, but I had it over here in the other the pile of books were the first book. So then we have so here's the other Game of Thrones related House of the Dragon book, the one that inspired that show, Fire and Blood. And there was another book. I'm assuming this. I don't know if this is gonna be a duology. I'm assuming it's gonna be a duology. So it's not a series. But who knows? And it's really cool because it's written like a textbook. But of course, it's about Westeros and the Targaryen family, so it makes it 10 times more interesting than the textbooks you read in the class. But of course, that textbook writing style, might not be for everyone. And I do believe it's implied that the show is kind of based on what actually happened, and that this is more speculation and people's theories and stuff like that about what happened. Like, this is I cannot remember what their religious people are. I cannot remember what it's called. Maybe it says it in the. Where is it? It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. Maester, that's what they're called. Maester just popped into my head. This is a book that's written by Maester, so he doesn't have the details 100% accurate, and the TV show was supposed to be when it actually happened, which I think is a really cool idea and really smart for them to do. But But I figure now that, the show's off the air for right now, it can now be a good time to read it. And I think it's not going to be coming back for another, 2 years, I think, which I'm cool with because I want it to be good. So if they need some time to work on it to perfect the show, and then I'm willing to wait. And this book will take me a while to read anyway, but which is one of the rare occasions where I have a big chunky book. I keep thinking about buying the paperback, but I'll stick with this one. I might change my mind and get the paperback and just donate this version, but anyway, as of right now, I'm keeping it. So there is that. Then we have one that I bought in October, actually, when we went up to Chimney Rock, and we went to one of the I don't think it was Asheville. Actually, yeah, I think it was Asheville, because I got a different book that was not part of it, and the other town we visited after Asheville. But this is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, and again, I couldn't tell you what it's about because I did read the back, but I don't remember off the top of my head because it's been quite a few months since I looked at it. So this is a sci-fi, and I've been trying to get more into sci-fi, starting with Dune. And I don't know how many books are on this. I know according to the back of this, there's A Desolation Called Peace. That's the next book. I don't know if it's a series, if there's any other books that came out. I'm gonna have to look this one up to see if this is just a duology or if there's more books that came out. But yeah, so I remember liking the concept when I read about the concept on the back. Like I said, I don't remember what it said, so and like I said, I don't want this video to be super long, which it probably already is. But anyway, there's that. And then, so recently I was just thinking about this particular series, actually. And that is the Atlas series. I think I'm just going to call it that. I think it was Reagan from Peruse Projects. He talked about this series a little bit on a video I watched first today. But I figured, so, as of right now, there's one more book coming out, but there's another one called The Atlas Paradox, is the sequel. This was also with Engines of Empire and The Faithful End and the Rhea Revelations. This was originally self-published, and now a lot of Olivia Blake's books are coming out now. Books that she had wrote, they're now getting published and they're coming out. So, but I want to get, this is the first, the Atlas 6, and it's basically a group, it's the whole idea of if the library Alexandria, not Alan's channel, but the real library of Alexandria, what if it did not get burned down? And there's a secret society, and our characters have been invited to be part of the secret society, but one's not going to make it. One's not going to survive because there's all these series of tests they have to do to prove themselves worthy of being part of the Library of Alexandria secret society. It's a multi-POV story, and the premise sounded really cool and intriguing. So, so I have not picked it up yet, but I'm eager to do so. Okay, so now I have another one that I recently got the first 2 books in the series, and I think I showed them to you guys when I did a book haul, and this was inspired by Alan from the Library of Alexandria, and then Jennifer Brooks inspired me to check this out. So I had tried other books by this author before, and I remember liking it, but the library did not have the next book in the series. And then this was the first time I'd seen other books by this author at the roast office, multiple books. So, but I decided to just get 2. I don't know if the others will be there next time I go, but I decided to get 2, the first 2, to get me started. And then even if they're not, the other books in the series are not at the Roast Office, then I can at least get them off Thrift. I could probably find them off Thrift Books or something, or a book depository. But this is the Last Kingdom series. We have the Last Kingdom series, and this is the first book. And like I said, I bought the second one as well, The Pale Horseman. So this is the second book, and I thought going by, and this is also kind of inspired by the fact that I was reading The Wolf at the time, which I think is kind of a fantasy version of probably the same storyline. I mean, not the exact same storyline, but the same, history. But because I think this is also about the history of England. But, and it is, I think, is it a movie? It became a movie, got adapted. Let me see, I don't know if it might have been made into a movie, but, yeah, so I've been trying to get into Vikings more, obviously, and this sounded like a good place, and I'm glad there were multiple books by Bernard Cornwell, because I keep thinking about checking him out, but I want to make sure I can get the rest of the series if I end up loving it. But, and I keep running into that problem, like getting the books from the library, and they don't have the next book in the series from the library, so there's that. I don't know how many, this I think was actually originally called the Warrior series, but then it got changed to The Last Kingdom, and it got adapted. I'm trying to look for, okay, so we have The Last Kingdom, The Pale Horseman, which I have now, Lords of the North, Sword Song, The Burning Land, Death of Kings. Oh, that would be a very popular expression, or like very famous, that phrase, Death of Kings. The Pagan Lord, The Empty Throne, and Warrior of the Storm. So that's all the books in that series. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 books in the series. So I have the first 2 books, and I'm going to start them soon. Ideally this year. I mean, just now, I'm telling you about these books, but I might not necessarily get to all these books this year. But I'm going to try to. Okay, so now we have, and that's historical fiction, and now we have a fantasy book, which I remember, what was her channel name? Becca in the Books, where she had attempted to read this, which I love the cover of the one that she got. And I remember at first she got, because like she thought it was an Anastasia retelling. But it's more of a loose retelling, I think, from what she said. But I was still intrigued by it, and I just bought it off of Thrift Books. I think it was it might have been in December when I bought it. I hope it was in December, because then I basically placed 2 orders in January. So I think this was in December. This is about a princess who has a bit of a killing touch, and she's accused of killing her father. And, so she has to go on the run, and her only help is I think she's a con man? Oh, he's a crime lord. That's right. So, a crime lord. So, not a con man, but a crime lord is her only help. And I'm guessing she's going to fall in love with him. It's going to be enemies to lovers or something. And then there's a sequel, Red Tigress, which I don't know if it's a duology or not. It might be just a duology, so it's not a series. Which is fine, makes it easier for me. But, yeah, it just seemed like such a cool concept, and I like how she's working with a crime lord. Like her ally is an actual criminal. I always like that idea. Those kinds of concepts. But anyway, this is really I'm eager to read this. I want to read this soon, in the next couple months, before winter's over, because it feels like a wintry book. But so some of these ideally some of these feel like a wintry book, so some of these I feel like I should get to them sooner rather than later, like in the next couple months. But okay, and then we have another one. I don't remember when I got this one. This one I might have got when we were. No, this was not. I don't remember when. This might have been at. Oh, this one. I got this one. That's right. I got this one when we were visiting my sister, and my dad and brother-in-law dropped me out. Let me go to Barnes and Noble for a little bit while they went and got lunch. And then once I made my purchase, I was going to meet them there. So yeah, that's when I got this one, The City of Dusk. Again, this is one that Ellie Brooks has talked about this channel and how it was one that she at first thought she didn't like, but she was still thinking about it. And this concept sounded really cool. Like, again, it was God magic, people worshiping gods, and the gods forsake them, and there's a group of people that are connected to the gods, that they go on a mission to find out why. Something like that. But it just sounded like such a cool concept when I read the back description. And sometimes, a lot of times when I do my Barnes & Noble trips, because I don't go to Barnes & Noble that often, I end up getting a new book that I'm interested in. Rather than, the next book in a series or something. But, so this just seemed a really cool concept. Again, this is Orbit. But, yeah, and I really like this cover too. I think this cover is really cool. And then we have, and I don't know how many books are going to be in this one. Like, this is just, they haven't published the other books, but I'm assuming there's going to be more books. Yeah, because it says The Dark Gods #1. So, which I really appreciate that, because nothing is more annoying when you think, oh, this is going to be a standalone, okay, and then find out later, oh, more books. Which you're kind of, well, I shouldn't say that, like, oh, like, more like, oh, here I'm thinking it's a series, it's a standalone, and, there's more books. Like, basically I'm trying to say that can be both a good and a bad thing, because yes, love to stay in this world, but then it can be kind of frustrating when you're prepared for it to be standalone, and then you find out later that there's going to be more books. And then that can be overwhelming, because then more books to buy, because gotta have them. But, so I like how a lot of fantasy books are now, they're putting the title of the series and the number up in this. More series should do that. Make it less confusing. Okay. So, and then we have Grace of the Kings, which I had started reading this one. This is one of the ones I had started reading. I think I read the first chapter or something. But this is the Dandelion Dynasty, book 1. I don't know how many books are going to be in the series. I believe the sequel came out last year or the year before. But I did start it, and I don't remember, but I can't really tell you what's about without having to read the back description. And like I said, I'm already talking too much as it is. So, we got that one. Okay. Next. So this is one that a lot of people have been talking about. And the second one just came out. And everyone's either, has mixed feelings about this book, loves it or loves, and I don't know if anyone ever really just hates it, but, this is another one of, another one of those high fantasies. This is a guy, I should really know this, because I just watched a video earlier today that talked about what this book is about. I think it might have been last night right before I went to bed, that, I cannot think, I always forget her channel name. but she just talked about this book and how she did enjoy it, but she can't recommend it. She does a series of videos where she lists all these books that she didn't really enjoy, but in her good conscience, she cannot recommend them for reasons. And she did talk about this one on that and did kind of talk about what this book is about. But I'm trying to remember what she said. I know it's a revenge story. And this is a very interesting world where they will force you into the military, I think. They'll do something to make you join the military. Or something about the military is not as appealing. Not just the whole life and death and going to war, but the way they handle it. And our main character doesn't, Tao does not want to go into the military, because he has, a girlfriend he loves and everything. But then I think either she or his friends get murdered, so he wants revenge, so he decides to join the military to get that revenge. And I know a lot of people's biggest problem with this is that Tao, as a character, that's all he is his revenge. And I think someone compared this to Batman, actually. But it seems like such an intriguing concept. And I would like to see if his character gets more developed and he gets more of a personality in the rest of the series. But I do like revenge stories. I loved the Count of Monte Cristo. That was so much fun. But so there's that. Okay, so the worst part is I'm gonna have to clean up all this when I'm done putting all these books back. So now we have another sci-fi that I did start, but I haven't picked it up yet. And that is Children of Time, and I think it's a trilogy. This is about people having to leave Earth, and they send out, let me see. Okay, so it doesn't say, but I know that I can't remember when it was, but basically whatever they sent out into space. Originally they tested it on monkeys, but it did not go well, and they sent it out into space, and it ends up making super spiders that are really smart and intelligent. And they cross the path of the humans cross the path of these spiders. I think something along those lines. So we get the perspective of the humans, and then we also get the perspective of the spiders, which I think is really intriguing, and really creepy, kind of. Imagine spiders like that being, intelligent. I mean, regular spiders don't bother me because they're just small and kind of cute. But then you have giant spiders like Aragog, or the spiders that Thorgan Oakenshield's company come in Bilbo cross paths with and try to eat the dwarves in Bilbo. Those kind of huge giant spiders that don't exist in real life, that would scare me more. So the spiders in this would probably terrify me. It won't scare me while I'm reading it. I won't be scared while I'm reading it unless, it might give me nightmares if I think too much about it when I sleep. But anyway, I've read some of it already, and I'm always just worried because it will spend a lot of time on the science aspect. So I'm very nervous I'm not going to love this, or I'm going to struggle with it, and so. But at least I think it's a trilogy, so I don't, and I think it's a trilogy. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I need to get to this one. Okay, so the way I'm in books, I'm going to have to reach across and see if I can grab them. Okay, and now we have another thrift books purchase, and this is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but with dragon riders. Elizabeth and Darcy are dragon riders, which I thought was really cool. I love the idea of taking that kind of story and adding a fantasy element to it. Like, I like the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I have not read Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters yet, but I will be curious about that. But I love this. And I also loved Jean's Bookish Thought. Jean from Jean's Bookish Thought. She had recommended Tooth and Claw, which is also a Pride and Prejudice retelling, but instead of there being human characters, the characters are dragons. So instead, this is dragon riders, not dragons. So I thought both concepts were really awesome, and I was gonna read them together, or at least that inspired me to get this one as well as Jean. And I do believe it's a trilogy, so I don't know how they're gonna expand it. If this is a retelling Pride and Prejudice, then I guess our couple will be together in book 2, our main couple, but or they'll just drag out the romance. I don't know, but either way, this was I can't wait to read this. This is gonna be so much fun. I just haven't picked it up yet, and I don't know when I'm gonna read. I don't know if I'm gonna wait, how long I'm gonna wait, but I'm gonna pick it up soon. And maybe I'll, I might read it in February. This might be a February read. Okay, and then we have one that's, I don't know how many books are going to be in this series. Might be like 3 or 4 books. But the Grave of Empire series. By Sam Sykes. Seven Blades of Black. She's, I think she's an assassin, so maybe we'll do a better version of Throne of Glass. Which didn't have, what's her name, was not assassinating anyone. She was not proving how badass she was. We just kept being told that she was. So maybe this one we will actually see some action with her. But this cover is this is such a weird cover. Like, it almost looks like a comic book cover. Like, very surreal with the face and everything. It's very weird. But yeah, I think she's an assassin. But I'm trying to remember how many books there are. I would have to look. But either way, this just sounded such a cool premise. But I haven't started yet, so I'm curious to start it. I'm excited to start it at some point. But anyway, so there's that. And then here is the book that has been the bane of my existence. The book that I keep saying I'm gonna read it and finish it, but I still have not picked it up and continued with it. And that is Way of Kings. To be fair, I got a good chunk in. I got a lot read, but this is how much I got left. Right there. So I read quite a bit of this, and I remembered quite a bit of it once I start reading it. Something about Brandon, he knows how to craft a story in not just the magic system, but crafting a story that is just readable. Now, not all of his books. I know that not all of his books are going to be lovable, but it's so much fun, and there's going to be 10 books, so he's one more book, I think, or maybe it's going to be the new arc is going to start with book 5, I don't know, but I just keep trying to say it, I'm going to pick it up, but it's a long book. So I need to get to this book and finish it. Because every time I hear about it, because I keep hearing about it from my favorite booktubers, and no, they're not forcing me, and they're not guilt-tripping me, because they're not interacting with me at all. But every time, I feel so guilty every time I hear about it, and thinking, like, I need to get back to this book, and I do love it. Just because I put it down, well, it does not mean I don't love it. I enjoy it as soon as I start reading it. It's a commitment issue. And I always feel guilty every time. And I'm sure some of you guys will comment and say, oh, you don't have to feel guilty. But just because someone tells me does not mean I'm not going to feel guilty. It's not going to go away. I can make my guilty feelings go away. So I will, and maybe the only solution is to finally pick it up and read it. I don't know when that will happen, but I do need to read it this year. And ideally finish it this year. Or at least make a good progress. So I can finally get to book 2. and I don't have to worry, and I can stop feeling bad every time every booktuber that I like that loves fantasy mentions it. Okay, so I don't want to talk about the book that's closest to me right now that I can easily grab, so I'm going to reach for the books that I can't grab as easily. Okay. Okay, so now we have... Oh, here is the other newest John Gwynne stuff. The Shadow of the Gods. And Hunger of the Gods is already out. I just haven't bought it yet because I've been trying to resist and get this first book read before I buy the second one. But this cover's awesome, and I don't even know what it's about. I haven't heard anyone explain what it's about, or if I have, it's been a long time, so I do not remember if anyone said what the premise is. But I'm sure it's Vikings set story. But it's just such a cool. I love this cover, and I like how it looks like a poster. It could be a poster if you open it up. But I need to get to this. I don't know how many books that he's going to write in this series. Maybe the same amount as Faithful and the Fallen. But I know the second one has come out already. I just haven't started this first one. But I'm eager to start it. I'm just, just keep getting sidetracked by books that won't take me as long to read. Which is why I've decided to set quarterly goals instead of monthly or bi-monthly goals. Although bi-monthly did help. So here's that one. So now we have, okay, I have to reach again. Like I said, there's a series that's not a series that I'm gonna do that one last. So I'm gonna try to get the books. Oh. Okay, for a second, thought I lost the bookmark. Because I'm going to find the page I left off at. So first we have one of the historical fiction works, and that is Pillars of the Earth. So the Kingsbridge Chronicles is the series, in its ongoing series right now. I think he's continuing to publish books in this series. This is about this famous cathedral. His first book is about it being built. And, the guy who kind of manages it ends up being the guy in charge of getting it built. And his history and stuff. And I really enjoy it. It's, again, a slow book and a long one. And I did have his other Ken Follett's other series, but finally I had to make a decision, and I looked at reviews on Goodreads, and I decided to put in the donation pile that trilogy, and that was the Century trilogy. I decided to walk away from that, and if you loved it, don't try to convince me, because I need to make decisions and donate books. So I'm going to walk away from that one. And it's not like I felt any attachment for it, It was okay when I picked it up and read it. I still kind of was intrigued, but not enough. It's not like I'm devastated. It's not like I was I wasn't too hesitant to get... I was okay with letting it go. But anyway, I like this a little bit more. And this is really intriguing premise, but it's still ongoing. I don't know how many how many books he's gonna write in the series, but he's written a couple more in this series, and it definitely makes sense that it's taking, because the longer the book, the longer I feel like the author will take to write each book. So there's that. Okay, and then now we have Mistborn Era 2. And I've already read Mistborn Era 1 years ago. And like I said in my Christmas haul, I've been wanting these editions. And so I finally, and you guys, as I explained, I got books 2 and 3, and then I bought the second one. So I started to read the first book, and I read the prologue. In the first chapter, I think? The first chapter. And, I'm liking it so far. And But I also was trying to get some books read that, you know, had been on my shelf for a while. So I started reading The Physician and The Wolf kind of goes with the wintry setting. So although it goes in through the seasons of that year, so it's not just a winter book, but doesn't just speak to the winter time, but it still felt like a winter book. So I got that one, and then like I said, I stopped with chapter 2 in this book. So I'm gonna pick it up again soon. Maybe again, you know, in the next couple weeks or so. Maybe we'll start in February. I don't know, but I will pick this up again soon. And now I have the first 3 books. I don't have the last one, but I will get it soon. I'm kind of waiting, so I might not finish this year, but I can at least read most of it because I have all the first 3 books. But so there's that. And then I have 2 more books before I get to the last one I want to talk about. So again, I'm gonna have to reach across. Okay. So all my books kind of fell on me, and now they're in a big pile. Okay, I'm gonna have to move some of these out of the way so I don't step on too many. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happens when my screen does that. What you guys see, if you still can see me on the screen, because I can't see you. Okay, so 2 more books, and then I'll get to the other one that's not technically a series per se, but it feels like a series, so I'm including it in this. But I will get to that one in a minute. So we have 2 more books. Senlin Ascends, the what is it called? The Tower of Babel series. This is about a guy, a professor, who takes his new young wife, to the famous Tower of Babel for their honeymoon. They just got married, and he loses her. So he has to go through the different levels of the tower, which each level was a whole world in there, and he has to climb up the tower to find her. And I think I got an idea of where it's gonna go, probably. I mean, not exactly where it's gonna go, but the vibes I'm getting now, like, it's gonna be a bunch of people that are gonna trick him, and like, kind of like Alice falling down the rabbit hole. Except for this time, the character's going up the rabbit hole. And it's just gonna be silly and crazy people, and people that are just mad and all that, and just giving him grief and trouble. I think that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna feel like Alice in Wonderland. Maybe a little less nonsensicalness, but still similar vibes. I think there are 4 books. And the last one came out a couple years ago, so it's a series that is all done. So I just need to pick it up. I don't know. Okay, so no, I have not started this. I just went ahead and marked the first pages. But I think the whole premise just sounds so cool. This idea of this tower and how it's, each level of the tower is its own world. I think that's so, I think that's really cool. And I love these type of characters, the type of character we're getting here. That are not adventurer types. They're smart, bookish, and they just are forced on an adventure, or they will go willingly on this adventure like Laszlo Strange does in Strange the Dreamer. But, I can't wait to read this. I just haven't picked it up yet. Okay, so, and then we have The Shadow of What Was Lost. I don't know how many books are in this series, but I know at least 2 other books from the series. Maybe the whole series is out. I don't know, and these titles are really interesting. But I couldn't tell you what this is about. I just know when I read the description, I keep hearing about it, I'm definitely intrigued by it. An echo of things to come. So do I have that one? I don't know if I have that one or not. If I do, it would probably be over there, because I think I have all my white books over there, because, like I said, I organized it in rainbow shelves. But yeah, I remember like reading the back description and all, and hearing about it from others. It sounded fun and interesting. I just haven't picked it up yet, and I don't remember what the details of the plot were. Not the details, but what I was told it was about. And like I said, this video was super long anyway, so yeah, I want to read this, and I love the titles. They're super long, but they're really intriguing, really interesting titles. So now we finally can get to the one I was most excited to talk about. It's not a series technically, but it feels like a series because multiple books from this world have been published. And that we have is Lord of the Rings, which I know it's not a series, it's not a trilogy. Tolkien wanted it published as one book, so you guys don't have to yell at me. If any of you guys are Lord of the Rings fans, you don't have to yell at me and tell me it's not a series. I know it's not a series, and I know it's not a trilogy, because Tolkien did not want it to be published as a trilogy. The publishers were thinking, people are not going to want to read a book this size. Which they were probably right. Because at the time, because people were still not used to big epic books in one big book. You know, there was the longest time where books were published serially. Like you got each part. So even though like Dickens and Trollope are really long, a lot of their books were, granted, some of them are the Brontes. Some of their books were like, especially Dickens. He published his work serially, so you get a chapter, or maybe a couple chapters, in like a magazine or whatever. You don't get the whole book published all into one big bind up. Now, granted, there are a lot of books that were. Granted, that's all people did. They didn't have any distractions. It's ironic because today we have so many distractions. People can go to places like the mall. Or like there's video games and the internet and TV. So we have a lot more distractions today when it comes to our entertainment goes beyond just books. So it's just funny that, the publishers wouldn't publish a book this size back then, but nowadays it's perfect. But nowadays they do it all the time, yet people don't always have that much time anymore to read. Granted, there are other, now audiobooks exist, and you also have ebooks, like Nooks and, Kindles and all that, where you can read your book while you're on the go. But yeah, anyway, so this was really, I love my hobbits. My Hobbit and my dwarves, the Warren of Witchell and Company. I just watched the original trilogy, which I'm the minority here, but I love that trilogy, that movie trilogy. And I just watched it. But anyway, so I have a big volume of the first Fellowship, Return of the King, and the Two Towers. The Two Towers is actually the second one. I just said it out of order. I have all this. And today they still publish it as a trilogy anyway. So we got The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. I need to get the pronunciation. Which it's really hard because you can't show an accent when you type a word. Like if a word has a little accent symbol, you can't, I don't know where to, I can't put that in when I type it. So, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I don't know anything about them, about these two. But yeah, I got this one at BAM and started collecting. I've been slowly accumulating all the books that Christopher Tolkien put out from his father that are, related, that are all about the universe, the Middle-earth universe. So then we have, I rebought The Hobbit. I had a mass market, just like I mass market the Lord of the Rings in trilogy format, but I ended up donating them, so I rebought it. So I have The Hobbit, and this came out when the movie came out, because now a major motion picture is on here. So, the 75th anniversary edition, which I really like these covers. I really like the raised lettering and the image of the mountains, and I used to have the mass market. It was a cute cover, but it was kind of boring. And then, so I want to get the Fall of Gondolin, and then the Nature of Middle Earth. I want to get that in the complete Tolkien as well. But until then, we have those, and then we have this, The Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle Earth as well. Oh, and last but not least, I don't have it over here because it's on my bed near my purse, because I brought it with me when we went out to get some hot chocolate, and then when we went out to dinner. So I don't have it over here. It's like over, like, on my desk or on my bed. That's the Silmarillion. I started reading that, and I actually was inspired to get that because at first I was intimidated, thinking it will be too hard to read. But then I remember Terry saying, and I don't know if she remembered, because I think she read it years ago, so she might not remember having read it. But I know she told me she read it and it was not that hard for her to read, so I was kind of surprised. I figured, well, if she can read, I can read it too. So it took me a while, but I finally bought it, and it was around the time, I don't remember when I bought it, but so I have that one as well. That one's over there, and it kind of looks similar to this one. And then we have this, The Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle Earth, which I don't know if this one has the Fall of Numenor, which, you have that one also at the road. I've seen that at BAM, so, I don't know if I need to get that one or not, but, we have, next book I was planning on getting at BAM, or at the roast, or, like, get it, on Thrift Books or something, is The Fall of Gondolin. So I don't know if that one is in this one. And there's no, like, there's nothing on there, but that mentions. Ooh, it has a chapter on the quest of Erebor. So that's cool. So the story, which was what The Hobbit is about. But anyway, So I'm so excited to dive into this. I feel like it just feels like reading for a class. Like, I think of it as not only fun, but feeling like I'm teaching myself about Middle Earth. Like, it's a real place and I'm studying it like a scholar or something. That's what it feels like with this. So, yes, it's technically not a series, but it feels like one because, you have the Lord of the Rings was published as a trilogy, and then you have The Hobbit, which feels like, it's a prequel, which wasn't the original intention, but it kind of became that. And then you have all these books. So, like I said, it's not a series. I'm saying it multiple times because I don't want to get those. If there's any of you that watch my channel that are hardcore fans, I don't want you to be, telling me then I'm, getting mad at me. I don't want to offend any of you guys, So I'm repeating multiple times that I know it's not a series. But anyway, so that's my super long video on my series and how that's what I plan to do, what I'm going to try to do this year. I don't know if I'll get to all these, but I would like to try and make some progress. Oh, I wonder if I should not. I'm looking at the time and I have cake downstairs, so I might not. It might be too late to eat it. But anyway, so I hope you guys like this video, and even though it's super long, and I will talk to you all. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't, click the bell notification button if you want to be notified when I post new videos, and I hope you are enjoying your reading. And if you guys read series, please share in the comments below the series that you are thinking about, that you have been reading and want to read this year. So I will talk to you all later. All right. Bye.